Good morning. It's my first run today in a shoe that I feel like Nike has put in the witness protection program. This is the Zoom Fly 6. And what I mean by that is I feel like every year they come out with a new version of this shoe. It looks completely different. It goes from a blonde to a brunette. They move it to another state. It has different foams in it, different setup. So this just seems to be a shoe that Nike is consistently tinkering with and kind of changing the way that it runs, the way that it looks, the way that it feels. So we'll see how we do with the Zoom Fly 6. I do have a review on my channel for the Zoom Fly 5, and I found that to be a good long run shoe. Had decent stability, but the midsole really was not that exciting in that shoe. It had a firm SRO2 carrier foam and then the recycled Zoom X as the core. This shoe still has the SRO2 carrier foam, but it has a full layer of actual Zoom X this time and still maintains the carbon plate. It's definitely lighter as well. So they're gonna get a little bit of trial by fire today. My first run in them is gonna be a long run. We'll see how many miles I go today. So first things first, this shoe, the Zoom Fly 6 and Zoom Fly 5 are related to each other like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in twins. If they're part of the same family, I would not believe it. And what I mean by that is the Zoom Fly 5 main characteristic to me was its weight, how heavy it was, how the fact that it had a carbon plate in it really didn't feel that propulsive, didn't feel that bouncy. This one's gone the complete opposite direction. I will say there's two personalities to this shoe though, depending on how you run in it. If you heel strike in this shoe and run slower, it feels terrible. The heel feels unstable, and that's where there's much more of that SRO2 carrier foam, which is kind of a dead foam. It doesn't really give you much bounce. But then the forefoot of this shoe is oozing with goodness. It's got a ton of Zoom X under the forefoot, and then the plate is there as well. So when you run with the midfoot to forefoot strike in these, it feels like a completely different shoe. It just lights up and feels great and propulsive. And this kind of became a progression long run today. That wasn't what my plan called for. It just called for a long run for an hour and 40 minutes. I'm about an hour and 30 minutes in right now, and I've gone about 12 miles, like 7:48 pace. So again, I'm going faster than my easy pace, what I really should be doing on this run, just because this shoe feels so good when you're running faster. It encourages that forward lean, and if I'm leaning forward and lifting my knees up, it just drives and feels really smooth going a little bit faster than my easy pace. So at mile 8, I actually really started picking it up, which is kind of strange. You know, after 8 miles in, I'm like, this shoe feels much better if I run faster, so why don't I try doing that for a while? So now I'm almost home, but a good first impression on the long run with this shoe. You just got to be utilizing that midfoot to forefoot where all that Zoom X is, because that's where the magic of this shoe lies. So run number 1 in the Zoom Fly 6 ended up being a 13.1 mile long run. I think I got to an hour and 40 minutes or hour, whatever I was supposed to get to, and I was at 12.9 miles, and I'm like, that's just a silly amount to stop at. Might as well get to 13.1. In that first run, what I really noticed about this shoe is how good the Zoom X and the plate feel in the forefoot, and how bad the SRO2 feels in the heel. So again, if you're a heel striker, I think you're gonna really not enjoy this shoe. But if you're working on trying to get a midfoot or a forefoot strike, this might help you, like one of those operation games. It's like if you touch the heel of this shoe, you get buzzed, like, you know, don't land there. Where if you land on the forefoot or the midfoot, you're engaging all the Zoom X and the plate in the shoe, and it feels a whole lot better. So again, I think this is going to be more of a speedy option, a tempo trainer. I wouldn't really shoot for it for long runs unless I was trying to do like a fast finish long run or a marathon paced long run where I'm putting a little bit more effort into the shoe. So today actually calls for a speed session. So I'll be doing some, I think 400 meter reps. It snowed last night again, so the roads may be a bit sketchy, so we'll test the bad weather grip of this shoe, but it does have a pretty decent built up outsole with some treads on there, so I think it's going to perform well today. But cross your fingers, hopefully I don't bite it on my run today. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, comparing the Zoom Fly 5 to the Zoom Fly 6 is really not fair at all. That was a heavy, clunky shoe. It could handle long runs. It was padded enough for that, but it just, that SRO2 foam is garbage. I think Nike should stop using Perhaps Nike should try using the new React X foam that's over there in the Pegasus. I've seen some other reviews of this shoe where people are saying it's soft in the heel. Does this look soft to you? I can barely push in on this at all. It's a really firm, dead foam, and to me it almost feels like those old school pencil erasers, the big pink ones. If you put a bunch of stack of those on top of each other, that would be what this midsole feels like in the back. It doesn't really squish that much. And again, if you land on this part, it feels kind of dead and it'll roll to either direction. So I think heel striking in this shoe really, it feels like a terrible shoe if you heel strike in it. But if you land anywhere from here forward, then it feels great. So again, that picture that I showed before, this is pretty much all SRO2 foam all the way up to the plate here, even though it says Zoom X, that's in the front. But in the front of the shoe has all the Zoom X and then the plate right below it. So when you land on that, it really gives you that nice squish in and rebound. And then the plate in this, the Zoom plate, or the Fly plate for that matter, is not as stiff as it is in the Vaporfly or the Alpha Fly. So you can see, even though it's got a carbon plate, it's still a pretty bendable shoe, but it also does have some nice pop from that plate as well. So this shoe feels really great in the midfoot and the toe area when you're putting some power into it and toeing off strong and aggressively. So if I'm landing here and really pushing into the ground, I'm getting nice rebound from that Zoom X, a little bit of squish in, nice bounce and roll from the plate. So it does feel very propulsive and kind of encourages you to pick up your feet, pick up your knees, pick up your speed, and run fast in it. My run in these today, I did just over 8 miles. I did about 3 miles in the warm-up, around 8:05 pace. So I was able to go that pace, just again, making sure that I focus on avoiding the heel at all costs to have an enjoyable run in this shoe. So landing right here in the midfoot, feeling fine, cruising along, helps maintain that easy pace. But you can feel that it really is encouraging you to push harder, go faster. It has that quality to it. So when I got up to the 400 meter reps, I was kind of letting it rip a little bit in these and was mainly in the 630s for most of those reps. And then the 200 meter reps at the end, I got up to 5:33 pace at my fastest. So I was able to run decently fast in the shoe. I think that's really what this is more designed to do. Run those tempo paces, intervals. It's good at that. Even though it's a very durable, I can see this being a very durable shoe. The fact that this SRO2 foam is firm and dead also means it's going to be very durable. You're not going to bottom it out. And the outsole on this is actually pretty good. It has thick rubber. You can see it's got a lot of raised tread on there. So I think this is going to be a very durable outsole, and it did very fine on the roads today as well. I was going through a little bit of slush and snow in places, but the plows around here do a pretty good job. But on the wet roads, I felt very confident in this shoe. The Achilles flare in the upper is very comfortable. The tongue is padded the whole way up the middle and also at the top, so it helps to relieve that lace pressure. I prefer the Nike laces that have the teeth on them. These are just kind of standard laces. So when I was lacing it up and trying to tie it down tight, they did go loose on me a little bit. So I had to tie it a couple times to get it just right. But once you have it tied right, the upper is very comfortable. It also has a pretty wide toe box for a Nike shoe. Nike shoes generally run pretty narrow. I think if you have a little bit of a wider foot, this is more accommodating. So it definitely has a comfortable, spacious upper. And $170 for a shoe with a carbon plate and Zoom X foam in it is a good deal as far as pricing goes. I think it's also going to be a very durable shoe, but for me, the use case of this is a little bit more limited. It could be a budget racer for some people, but to me, I wouldn't want to race in this shoe. I have lighter shoes. I have shoes that feel more explosive to me. This to me feels like a solid tempo trainer. That's really what it's at best at. This shoe really has some ugly colorways as well. They have the one that looks like women's makeup colorway. They have the one, I don't know what they're thinking with these flames that look like they were drawn by children. They've put those on a bunch of shoes recently. Then they have the one that looks like a Merrell hiking boot that you'd wear in Colorado. So the black was really the only decent colorway. Now it looks like they just came out with a couple new ones. There's a blue one and an orange one. I may have gone for one of those had I had the choice, but black is just your basic colorway. Again, that's not the most important thing to me in a shoe, but when I was looking at Nike to buy this shoe, I'm like, wow, all these colorways are bad. Really, black's the only one that I would buy of the options there. I've seen a lot of reviews of this shoe where people are saying this is one of the contenders for shoe of the year. It's such a great shoe. I'm like, it's all right. It's a good shoe. I don't think it's the shoe of the year. I don't think it's a great shoe. I think it's a good tempo shoe. It's going to be a durable shoe. It's a comfortable shoe, but it kind of loses that versatility to me with the heel being so firm and just uninspiring, if you're running slower in this, it really doesn't feel good. So you really have to kind of turn up the pace to get any good feeling out of this one. So let me know in the comments if you've run in the Zoom Fly 6, what you think about it. If you think it's one of the best shoes you've run in all year, if you don't like it at all, if you're like me where it's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's a safe space in the comments to let me know your opinions on the shoe. Give me your honest thoughts, I'll give you my honest response, and we'll go from there. So I look forward to seeing you in the next review. What that's actually going to be, though, a bit of a spoiler, I have the Prime X 2 Strung right there. I picked that up the other day. It's a $300 shoe from Adidas. I never pay $300 for a shoe. I buy all my own shoes. I've made $0 from this channel so far. So I always get deals where I can. I was able to get that for less than $200. So I really wanted to give it a shot. I've run in it once so far. I'm going to use it for a long run this weekend, and I'll probably have a review on that coming sometime this weekend. So I'll see you in the next video.